Shields up, Ironbreakers, and welcome to episode 70 of the Third Fleet Podcast. How are you doing, Gaijin?
We thought it would never happen. I'm back for a podcast. Hey.
Gaijin is back. This is not the resume of like the regularly scheduled programming because Gaijin still has a lot of things that he wants to do.
It's a step in the right direction, though. Isn't it?
Yeah. He still has a ton of stuff to get done in Final Fantasy XIV. That is a game that is never going to end. But
Yes.
You were extremely interested in discussing this topic that's been doing the rounds with the community about Monster Hunter Rise Cosmetic DLC. Now, we kind of talked about it a little already over on Twitch, but we wanted to do an actual episode of the Third Fleet Podcast focusing kind of like mainly on that, but also catching you up to the game in terms of like curious armor crafting, curious weapon crafting, and the anomaly hunt, because I've been looking for the most cursed quest, and it's been phenomenal to play around with that. But yeah, I guess we'll jump right into the first topic, which is cosmetic DLC. So I kind of feel like the thing that sparked...
There's a lot of layers to this one, yeah.
Yeah.
And what started this all? Because, I mean, to give you everyone backstory, like, I obviously have not been playing Monster Hunter for a while now because this year I'm really focusing on playing FF14, you know, with my daughter and myself, and just having a lot of fun and just, you know, letting myself dig in. But, you know, I do come back to the game, and I plan to come back to the game. It's just... You know, I'll read tweets and I'll see conversations and videos, and I started seeing a huge influx of like lots of comments, and it wasn't talking about the new monsters or the update. It seemed like there was some displeasure and discourse going on, and I was like, okay. So I looked into it, and I thought it would be really fun to talk about this because it's such a multi-layered conversation. It's not a
it is
depending on who you talk to.
And I think that it also boils down to everyone's experience in video games because a lot of people have different, like, for instance, I'm 40 years old. Obviously, this is not to say like, oh, let me pull my massive expertise in video games. It's just to say like, look, I've been around. I've played a lot of video games that have seen tons and tons and tons of monetization. I've played these games when they had less monetization, and I've played them when they have more monetization. And I can assure you that 9 times out of 10, more monetization usually means a worse game by far. But, you know, I think that is the point. Like, there's a lot of people that they've only ever played, like, certain games that have not been maybe as mired in monetization as some of the stuff that I've seen. And therefore, those people are still like, oh, we'll give this the benefit of the doubt. Like, seems fine. Seems like a big no-brainer, no problem. And then there's the people like me that have seen this monetization stuff, and they're like, this is the slippery slope. The problem is that people tend to take it also too far. It's like, it's doom and gloom. It's the end of days. It's never going to be the same. And, you know, there is merit to all of the arguments that I've just mentioned on this spectrum, because at the end of the day, it's all about what happens after. What happens immediately after this DLC is going to be what informs the whole thing. So this pretty much started with the latest, what do they call it? Developer Diary? I don't think they call it Developer Diary for the Rise ones. I think it's just called like event. It's a September event or something like that, right? Yeah. So that's when it all started, because they did the reveal. They showed new monsters. They showed Violet Mizutsune. They showed Flaming Espinas. I also recorded, I got sent some Flaming Espinas footage from Capcom, so I also made a video about that, which was...
I'm excited for that. I don't think I can fight it, though. I don't think I need to... I need to get my master rank up.
You can fight Flaming Espinas, and I think you can fight Violet Mizutsune. The one you can't fight... Yeah, the one you can't fight is Risen Mizu... not Risen Mizu. Risen Chameleos, because he requires master rank 110.
Oof.
So you can't fight that one. That one demands a little bit more. But so basically with that update, you know, everything is going fine. One of the things that I noticed is that I felt like with the amount of things that they added with the first update, and that was like the overall vibe that I got from my own stream chat, because obviously I streamed the whole thing. It was like, hey, this is good, but due to the fact that you added so much in the first one, we kind of expected more on this one as well. But this one just kind of like builds on the systems, doesn't really do anything for Curious Armor. Curious Armor stays exactly the same. There's some improvements to Curious Weapon crafting. But, mostly it's going to be like you're going to get, I'm assuming, a new armor from Flaming... Yeah, you are going to get new armor from Flaming Espinas, Velen Bizutune, and new armor from Risen Chameleos, but they haven't shown the weapons of Risen Chameleos, if I'm not mistaken. So we don't know if those are going to get an upgrade or not. And to be honest, I don't care, because Chameleos' gunlance sucks. It's terrible. It's a terrible gunlance, and I don't want it anyway. But during that update, right, they also announced layered weapons, and everybody's like,
hey,
yeah!
You do know that... you do know Chameleos has one really good weapon, which is the longsword.
Not sure if that's supposed to be a positive thing or what you're trying to do.
Oh.
But anyway, as I was saying, so then they announced layered weapons, and everybody's like, yeah, layered weapons are back, yes, because people have been asking for layered weapons for like ages. Because, everybody has like that weapon that has got their favorite look and all of this, and they want to have that, right?
Oh, and God. Yeah, that gives me flashbacks of World, and I was so livid at the idea that I couldn't use the Odogaron insect glaive because it was so cool looking, but its stats just couldn't hold up, and I was just like, oh, man.
That's a damn shame.
So that's a good step in the right direction.
But so they're adding layered weapons, and then pretty much immediately after, they're like, oh, and then there's also paid DLC, and they showed the Lost Code weapons, which I believe I've sent you the video already, or I told you to go see it on Capcom channel, because they didn't show the actual in the trailer. They showed only a little bit, but then there's like an actual big video that shows you the sheathing and unsheathing animation of all of the weapons, what all of the weapons look like, all this good stuff. So I watched that one later. And that one is paid exclusive DLC, as in there's no way for you to actually get it in-game unless you pay money for it. Now, for starters, I'm not a fan because of the fact that that is the first time that we're getting layered weapons as a paid thing. Up until this point has only been armor, right?
Yeah, so finish your thought, and then I want to dig into that specific aspect.
So, and the point there is, like, we've had a bunch of armor before, but every time I look at the armor, I'm like, okay, this is a cool little armor. It's a unique little thing. But I find that there is much more quality in the things that we're getting in the game. So I'm not going to be upset over the fact that, they're selling some additional stuff. So I even think that potentially, if it was layered weapons, but I'd look at them and I'm like, okay, so that is comparable to what we have in game. The problem here is there's nothing in game that does what these weapons do. That is the biggest problem that I have. Obviously, I'm also a little bit against it because it's the first time we're getting layered weapons, and I'm not a big fan of that. Paid only layered weapons. But on top of it, I felt like a significant budget went into developing these weapons due to the fact that they all have unique sheathing animations, and we don't really have, as far as I'm aware, anything in the game that compares to that. Now, a lot of people also said, well, yeah, but it's high tech, doesn't really, it doesn't really fit into traditional Monster Hunter, so I don't care. Other people are like, well, it should be, higher fidelity because it is paid DLC. You have to pay for it, so it's normal that it should be higher fidelity than the stuff that is in game. And I have a lot of opinions on that, but I've spoken way too much, so I'm going to cede the floor to you, and then we'll continue.
Yeah, so I think on each aspect of the conversation, there's like tons of different elements that we need to pick apart, because I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well. So I think the first one is there a distinction in your... For one, I will say I totally agree with you with the reason doesn't even have to be weapons. It could be armor as well. Like if you were to add a glowy piece of armor that glows in a way that you can't get it in game, what it does is I would say it's not, there's no parity when it comes to the level of vanity. And just saying, for the glam, it shouldn't be a rank higher above than the stuff that you can get in game. It should be on the same level, comparable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, glam is the true end game, and if you start holding off,
that Final Fantasy 14 influence is right there. Here we call it layered armor, Gaijin.
No,
and layered
it's glam.
weapons. Okay, fine, glam. It's the same thing, guys.
Yes, glamour, vanity, cosmetics, whatever you want to call it. But making your hunter look cool, or whatever, is the true end game for a lot of players. Not everybody, but for those who want the visual aspect, and that goes back to retention. as long as the stuff they're selling is one, I think everybody agrees we don't want them selling stuff that has actual effects on gameplay, right?
Yeah.
So there would be we don't want any actual gameplay bonus. That's pay to win kind of, but even on a PvE game, it just feels nasty. We wouldn't want to see that. But so layered is a good choice. So I think they're right in that direction. But like you said, the weapons have animations and stuff. I'm thinking like in Final Fantasy terms in my head. Like, can you imagine if like the primal weapons that glow, if those came out first as Mog Station DLC items first? And so if you wanted to have that fancy glowing weapon first in town, you had to pay for it. People would be pretty pissed off about that.
Yeah.
So, and rightfully so. And I don't think it's because, there's nothing wrong with creating flashy weapons or armor, right? And selling it. It's just like, okay, well, there's a lot of people who get these games for their birthday or Christmas, or they don't have, they live in a country that already gouges them like crazy for the game itself. So it's like, don't hold them back from a whole nother tier of glamour just because of financials. It just feels wrong. So, but I'm kind of curious though, like in your head, is there a difference between layered armor and layered weapons? And if so, what is it that feels weird? Or is it just the idea of, hang on, first it was stickers, now it's this, now it's that. Oh, just please, like you could feel the momentum. And you're just like, what's next? Like paid charms? Like, stop it,
I mean, it's like you can definitely feel the momentum, and we've talked about it on previous podcasts, which I'm assuming, there's probably people who forgot about it, but we've talked about this at length and multiple times about how we felt that, you get into World and Iceborne, for instance, and you would be getting these in event quests. So you would do an event quest, and then you'd get like the special layered armor, or you get the special weapon or whatever, but you would do an event quest and you would get the reward for doing that event quest, and that was kind of like the business model. Were there still things that you could buy in cosmetics, and were there a lot of them? During World, not so much, because like to give everybody an idea, I got like a 50% discount or whatever it was when they bundled everything together, and I bought that, and that was like 40 euros. So that was like 80 euros of DLC if you were to buy them all at full price, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think in World itself it was that much. Now in Iceborne was very different because they monetized your room. Now, monetizing your room to me is not a big a deal because we barely even go in there a lot of the time. So it's like, hey, if somebody wants to play, around with their house and have their house look really nice and all that, that's cool. But not as much of it went into the hunters themselves. I mean, there were some layered armors, I think, but I didn't find them to be, again, above and beyond what you could obtain in game. So I was like, okay, that's fine. That's whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
One thing I wish they would have did on that one though is it felt a little weird that they were selling trophies of monsters for your room, and you couldn't earn those in game. It's like, if you love a monster and you fight it, like that guy, the Tech Lancer on Twitter who fights Kushala every day and night of his life because he loves it. He's like, for a person who loves the monster, they should be able to earn a trophy, like through some. You can be like kill 100, some crazy objective.
Which
they can just make the DLC like a different color, like maybe it's silver if you get in game, or gold, and then you can get a platinum version or a silver version through DLC. So there's a distinction.
Yeah, those trophies you can actually get in Rise in the form of like the tapestry things or whatever they're called, right? And you can actually get those by killing the monsters and then using points to.
Yeah, but the room feature in Rise, I think we'd all agree, kind of sucks. It's
pretty
paltry. It's pretty paltry.
It's not. It's damn not really as detailed as the stuff you had in Iceborne for sure. But that doesn't bother me too much because again, you don't really spend that much time in your room, which is why I was like, oh, all of this pink stuff for your room and whatnot, and like special walls and cupboards and cabinets and whatnot.
Sure.
This is perfectly fine. Go ham, and I hope that you make a ton of money on it because fundamentally, it's like I want them to keep making as much money as possible because that is going to fund more Monster Hunter games, and to me, that's a net win. That's a net benefit. I've always said. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Nah, the lag between ours is coming.
It's fine. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but I think we all felt that, they were putting a lot of that effort, and not effort. Effort's such a bad word because they put their heart and soul into everything they do. I think it's like they put a lot of that money, I think, back into the development of the more retention based stuff. So like the events were really over the top. like you were saying, the outfits and the effects, the songs, all this stuff. It was really, really amazing, like what they did.
Yeah, we'd have like new whatchamacallit, the new gathering hubs and stuff like that, and they would like redecorate everything, and they actually looked completely different. And they would redecorate 2 hubs in Iceborne, although the ones from World had already all been done and whatnot, but they would redecorate the entirety of the hubs, and it actually felt like nice. There was an event happening, whereas in Rise and Sunbreak we get like none of that.
Nothing's going on but the monetization.
And the thing is, like, we still have events, but the rewards from the events are not particularly like, this ain't it, right? Like when you get rewards, to give an idea, I used to always be super excited. Okay, there's an Iceborne event. Let's jump in there. Let's do it. And definitely with Sunbreak, there's a bunch of events that I haven't done yet. I'm like, I'll get to them eventually. I'm even more interested in doing anomalies and stuff like that than to go do.
I'm really curious why they decided not to double down on events. I mean, I would assume that it's costly and it's tough and stuff, but like that gets people together that creates like a beat, like you want play. I would think outside, of course you got to sell the game and make money, right? But like they should be focused on keeping players engaged, because that will lead to more subsequent sales and word of mouth. So like, just even if they're done with the objective in a day or two, it still creates a very nice beat. And the people that were at work, they're doing it on the weekend. Like you get this huge splash of, hey, this game is relevant and here and fun, and people are playing it. And I don't know, they just seem to like walk away from it, and I don't know why.
Yeah, that's definitely been a strange thing, and I think that is one of the main complaints that I've seen from the community. I've seen a couple of videos coming out from Ratatosker and Handy Tips, and I don't know if other people talked about it or not, but like I've seen those 2 videos at least be posted online, and people are like, Rurikhan, react to these videos, and I'm like, I'm not gonna react to them, I've already watched them. Like I've seen those videos already. And I agree with most of the points that they make, where it's like, it just feels like this is kind of like they keep going further and further with Sunbreak. And this, again, goes back to the experience that I have in previous games. So to give you an idea, like if you go back in time 10 years, what is Blizzard's reputation like 10 years ago?
I've never played it. Okay. I don't know if I've ever played a Blizzard game.
Okay, but let me tell you. So Blizzard 10 years ago, this was the company that could do no wrong. This is they used to call it the PC darling, because they would focus mostly on PC development, where most companies would be developing for console, stuff like that. So Blizzard would be focused on PC development. And when you had like a game come out from Blizzard, you'd know that game was going to be quality. It was going to be a quality game. You're going to have a good experience. You're going to have a good time, right? So that was Blizzard's reputation 10 years ago. Now, eventually, at some point, this might have actually been even earlier than 10 years, because, again, 10 years is like a relative term, right? Just think like a long time ago, Blizzard was like one of the best developers you could possibly imagine. And, eventually, in World of Warcraft, which is a game that I've played a lot, like disgustingly amounts, this was my real addiction to MMO. It was not my first MMO, but it was the one that I got really addicted to. And at some point, because you have these MMOs and they have a subscription fee. So the idea is this subscription fee is to manage your servers and to guarantee that we can keep developing all of this content for you guys, right? And then at one point, Blizzard decided like, hey, let's sell a mount in the store. And they made this one mount, which was really unique. It was a horse that looked like a constellation. It was this really cool looking horse, right? And they sold it on the store. And everybody was like, bro, what the hell? I'm paying $15 a month. I should be getting all of the content in the game. And to be honest, that is one of the events that I feel like we didn't even push back hard enough, because there were a ton of people that were just like, oh, great, it's a horse, I'm buying it. So it's just like Blizzard, by making this one mount, didn't put that much effort into it, because it basically was using the skeleton of a regular horse. It's just like, hey, here's a regular horse. We're just going to put this skin on top of it. It's translucent and it's all glowy and it's got wings. It's like all of this, right? They just put that on top of a horse skeleton. The horse behaves exactly like other horses. And then you get this mount, and people just like millions. Like Blizzard must have printed like, I don't know, more money than they have printed in the last 2 years or something when that thing came out. And they're just like, wait, what? This is like no effort at all. Like, this is so easy. Look at how much money we just made, right? And so even back then, a lot of us were just like, okay, this is really bad. This is terrible for the business model. And I feel like the community itself did not fight back hard enough against this practice, because nowadays Blizzard does this all the time. They did nowadays a new mount for Blizzard. This is like what they call the 6-month incentive, because basically they want you to subscribe for 6 months. And if you subscribe for 6 months, they give you a mount. So then they have you hooked. They don't even have to give you content, because like, you already subscribed for 6 months. You already paid for 6 months. I don't care. You're going to get what we give you, and you're going to like it because you already paid for it, right? Which sucks. But that was basically the attitude that Blizzard started having. And now I'm not saying that like, you know, the Monster Hunter team, and I always make that decision. I'm not talking about Capcom. I'm always talking about Monster Hunter team. I always like to make the distinction, because Capcom also does Street Fighter and a bunch of other games. It's like, no, I'm talking Monster Hunter team. Now, I'm not trying to compare Monster Hunter team directly to Blizzard, because Monster Hunter team has been providing us with tremendous amounts of value. Like, even if they were to say no more updates, like after Title Update 1, they're like, no more updates. I've gotten way more than my money's worth out of the game, right?
Yeah.
Easily. So I'm not trying to compare the two. What I'm trying to show is that there is a path in which companies go down when it comes to monetization, and the more they push, if people do not voice their feedback, again, respectfully, this is the most important part, voice your feedback respectfully. Do not just go like, oh, Monster Hunter sucks, greedy bastards, blah, blah, blah. Like, this achieves nothing. You have to voice your feedback respectably, which is what I always try to do, right? As a matter of fact, I had conversations directly with the community manager to present that feedback directly to the team, not just making videos. But at the end of the day, there is a path that I've seen. And as I say Blizzard, there are other companies that I've been down the path, and I've seen this monetization become more and more and more egregious, and the company's getting more and more and more greedy, and basically putting more things in stores and less things, in game. And fundamentally, that always leads to a worse experience overall as you start going down that path. That's always the case. It always leads to a worse experience. So right now, I'm looking at these, and again, it all boils down to how unique they look. Because if you look at World of Warcraft, a lot of the mounts that they're coming up with now are fundamentally superior to the mounts that you can acquire in-game, because they have better animations, they're prettier, they have better art, they have better textures. And it's like, okay, fair game, you're selling these mounts, it's whatever, but can we have something comparable in-game? And most of the times you don't get that. And that is like one of the fundamental problems with the Lost Code weapons, is that I look at them and I'm like, there's nothing in game with a unique sheeting animation. Not a single weapon, at least as far as I'm aware. Like, please correct me if I'm wrong, everyone. But like, I don't think there are any weapons in the game that have like a unique sheeting animation. Now, there is one thing that you can kind of bring up, which is Akuma when you use the sword and shield. That's kind of unique, and that's a little bit different and whatnot. And that we got for free. But that's the only thing that I can instantly think of is the Akuma DLC when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, so I'm going to play, maybe it's not playing as devil's advocate, because I do believe this, but I don't know, at least in my experience, whether the introduction of monetization always leads to a worse game experience. But I do think one thing that has to be stated, not to take the publisher side too much, but I think it's worth calling out that making games has gotten more expensive, right? So
you don't want to have that argument with me. Trust me.
Hang on.
I will beat you down, Gaijin. I swear to God, dude.
All I say, you get games that the server cost to run a game and develop content concurrently is getting exponentially higher. Your game prices are not. The West will tell you one thing, but game prices are not getting that much higher compared to development cost. So I understand why monetization started to become a thing. Because you look at mobile games, like for example, everyone's like, oh, they're making like $1 million a month. Dude, if you had a game that made $1 million per month, it'd be shut down in 3 months. It wouldn't make enough money. They can't pay for their staff. They can't pay for development, the servers. It's not profitable at $1-2 million a month. They need more.
Depends on how much effort. Depends on how much effort you put into the game. Like if you put no effort at all and you get 1 million bones, that's pretty good.
Hey.
But like,
but I mean, like,
my point of view, my counter argument to that, because this is a topic that a lot of people always like to bring up, which is video games are more expensive. I fundamentally disagree with that. Number one, there are better tools than ever develop video games.
You think people use those tools?
Listen,
there's license fees associated with those.
Hey, listen, this is not my problem. The fact of the matter is there are much better tools than ever that make development of video games a lot easier than it's ever been. And on top of it, there are more efficient ways of using said tools. Again, there might be a problem of like people not wanting to educate the people that actually work in the industry. There might be a problem of people not wanting to invest in their employees. Again, this is not my problem. But what I'm saying is the tools are there. It's almost like, hey, listen, there's a fountain over there. If you're thirsty, you can go get water. And it's like, I've always gotten water from a bucket in the river. And then I have to filter it. And it's like, there's a clean water fountain right there. If you don't want to go get that water, that's not my problem. And there's a second. Wait, I'm not done.
I gotta disagree with that though. Wait, I'll let you finish.
There's a second counterpoint, which is yes, you may, even if you make the argument that video games are more expensive now, the amount of people that play video games has grown exponentially. This industry is literally bigger than Hollywood right now, way bigger than Hollywood. So
okay, I got two counters I want to propose to that, and I don't think we'll ultimately.
We're not gonna agree. We're 100%
no,
not gonna
we're not. But I would say, one, making the comparison that there's more sophisticated tools. More sophisticated tools does not mean that development is any easier or faster or cheaper. And it could, most often, the case is that games themselves are more sophisticated and require a lot more employees, a lot more outsourcing, a lot more. Like making a higher fidelity model just because you said, hey, I put it on Unreal and I'll pay my license fee. Oh, it's so much easier. It's not. Like that's not how game development works. In fact, if you look at the movie industry, the tools have gotten much easier. You can do things that you couldn't do 20 years ago, 30 years ago, much easier now. But movies are not more expensive, back then than they are now. They're more expensive to make than they've ever been.
But again, there's also a bigger audience.
Yes, but there's also because the scope of video games has been increasing and the fidelity and the people needed to make assets, the size of development teams today balloon the size of development teams back in the day. The amount of money it costs to develop a game has just shot way up. And the pricing, it's starting to slowly change, but it really hasn't changed much, right? So something had to give.
Yeah, I'm just like, again, I don't agree that you're going to tell me, like, for instance, this game sold how many copies at this point? Like 7-8 million? Rise at least? Sunbreak? I don't actually know. Like, yeah, you're not going to convince me that
they're in the black.
What do you mean they're in the black? What the hell does that mean? I would say they were in the green. Right?
Maybe it's a Japanese way of saying it. In Japanese, we say kuroji. We say you're in the black because on a net, because it means that you're profitable.
Yeah, exactly. So I would assume the game is profitable. And again, I'm not against them making money on the game. I'm a little bit against the layered weapons because I feel like we haven't gotten enough on events. But if you have been getting consistently like layered weapons and layered armor from events in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, and then they came out with these weapons, and let's take away the unique sheeting animation because that's like a big deal for me, right? Let's just say that they look exactly the way that they look with a regular animation, just like you have any other weapon, but you've been getting consistently weapons across multiple events, layered weapons with different themes, like maybe a Mega Man layered weapon, a Devil May Cry layered weapon, all of these things that Capcom can easily do because these are their franchises, and they could easily get those done. So it's like if you had consistently been getting those in events, as well as a couple of layered armors, I think that a lot of people would see this as not that hard to swallow. Because like, okay, so there's another layered weapon that you can buy, and there's nothing that special about them. They look sci-fi. It's cool. It's fine. But probably, I think most people would even go like, you know what, I'm going to buy it because I want to support them. The problem I feel like is that people do not feel that there is enough value. I mean, it's not that there isn't enough value. That sounds wrong. It's like the value of the paid DLC is exceeding the value of things that they're getting in game. And that is, I feel, where people are feeling like, hey, this is not cool. Like, whatever happened to all of the layered weapons that we used to get in special events and stuff, you know?
I mean, quantity over quality for sure. Quality over quantity, I think, is an issue, right? Like, if there's a bunch of DLC, then it's like whatever if it's just a bunch of stuff. But if it's of much higher quality and it makes you kind of feel disadvantaged for the ability not to pay extra money, that's a bad thing. But would you say that the issue is primarily the actual selling of the DLC, or is it the optics of how they've been rolling it out? Because that has been, I think, arguably very bad. Like they release, there's both. A patch day for Rise, and then they're like, oh no, the new content in game is tomorrow. Today's the DLC release, and that rubbed me way wrong. I said that looks bad.
I didn't even remember about that, but yeah, you're right. There were a couple of times in Rise where they did do that. But it's like, I think it's a little bit of both, basically, because, you know, every time that there would be these big title updates, there's obviously some paid DLC. And I think overall, you haven't really seen people up in arms. It's not like this is the first paid DLC that they've announced. I think that people just see those weapons and they're like, hey, this is getting a little bit too far. I think you're pushing it a little bit here, you know? I think that is the vibe that I get from most of the arguments, because people just feel like these were things that we've always gotten in events, and all of a sudden you're selling them, because I don't think you're going
feels
to
like they're stripping it out, right?
Because again, like we were talking about the argument of like video games are more expensive, this and that, but regardless of whether or not we agree on that, I don't think you'll find a majority of Monster Hunter fans being like, oh, I don't want Capcom to make any additional money, right? Or I think Capcom's nickel and diming me. We don't really see that happening in the community, because most of the time people are like, yes, make more money so that we can get more Monster Hunter games. This is a win-win for everyone. It's just, again, it boils down to what are we getting in game versus what you are selling us as paid DLC, and therein lies the problem. And again, we've talked about this, as in Rise has been pushing more and more DLC and less things in the actual game. And that is where people are getting
that's a worrying trend for sure.
Yeah. And again, I think it's important to voice this feedback, not to demoralize the Monster Hunter team, because I think most of the Monster Hunter community would be like, dude, these guys make amazing work. Like, we love these games. These are really fun to play. Despite all of the arguments we've had about Rise, some people like it, some people don't like it.
We would
slower,
prefer
like faster.
DLC to be more variety of desserts on the table, but not the dessert table only, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. So it's just that I think is where the issue is lied. And then obviously, because when you go to Twitter, everyone's trying to have like the hotter take, because that gets more engagement and all this stuff. So some people will be like, oh, I can't believe some people are complaining about this. And other people will be like, oh, I can't believe some people are not complaining about this. And everybody tries to go a little bit, because Twitter just tends to bring out the worst in people in a lot of times. So. I tend to take those things with a grain of salt. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a few things in the past that I didn't see a whole lot of argument about or like discomfort from people, but I feel we're pretty, if you think about them, it's like, well, if you weren't upset about that, why would you be so worried now? Like, Monster Hunter started with arguably one of the worst DLC implementation items ever, which was back on the 3DS, I think even. If you wanted to just change your character's gender and go over to like a female hunter, you had to pay money to do that.
On the 3DS?
I believe on the 3DS, but also Monster Hunter World as well.
Yeah, I mean, because I was just thinking about character vouchers. What I remember from the old Monster Hunter games... They give you one,
I think, if you upgrade, and that was it.
Yeah, what I remember from the old Monster Hunter games is that you could just change your appearance whenever you wanted to, but I never really tried changing my gender, so...
Yeah, you can't. And they would have lots. Obviously, the armors look very different. So, like, this is not a subscription model game. This is it's like, come on, guys. Like, why are you doing this? So, I think people weren't happy about it, but I think because there wasn't a whole lot of incentive to change, like, they weren't constantly releasing and having a whole suite of different animations and stuff like that. So it just seemed like, okay, if you are really crazy and you wanted to do it, it's one way they can make a dime off of a very niche customer. Yeah. Kind of dirty. I thought it was like, come on, like being able to change your character now, come on, charge you for that. But I mean, it depends on if it's a major part of the game.
Here's the reason why I've never really cared that much about it. I guess one of the things is because in World of Warcraft, that's always been a paid service. But fundamentally, it's not like that is gatekeeping something away from you in the game. There's nothing stopping you from basically making a new character besides the amount of hours it's going to take you to get to where your character was. But fundamentally, there is no paywall there that is keeping you from creating a new character, however the hell you want, and replaying the game up to the point that you were. And some people will say, you're crazy. And it's like, hey, this all depends on how much you value your time. That's it. It is a time value thing, but fundamentally the game is not stopping you from creating a new character to look the way that you want. So in that way, it's like you can achieve this through the game. What they're giving you is a shortcut. And it doesn't affect your gameplay in any way. It doesn't affect like, oh, if I put on this beard, my hunter will deal more damage or something like that. But, you know.
Yeah, and I think the first... that's a fair point. And I think the first instance of them releasing DLC exclusive armor was probably World, right? With the deluxe edition armor, because that was paid only, right? You couldn't get that in game.
As far as I'm aware, yeah, I think you needed to pay to get the deluxe stuff. And I think I don't know if that was the first time or not, because again, I didn't play the old games as much as you guys did. So
yeah, I think it is, and I think at the time what I saw in Japan, at least, I don't know about the West, but the reaction was like one whatever, because they kind of did a really good optics thing where they made it feel like a pre-order bonus. Like, hey, if you buy it early, like if you get the special edition, you can get some cool glam with it. And people were like, oh, okay. But I think the other thing that helped out was stuff like when Iceborne came out. It was the first time in Japan that they had actual like the expansion itself was DLC, right? It has always been a separate release here in Japan. So the price to get that game went down by like $15 here. So it was the cheapest it's ever been. And that was huge. And so if they wanted to charge $10 extra for a deluxe pack for fans that really wanted to do it, then it didn't feel like such a bad thing, because we were getting it cheaper anyways.
When it comes
I don't know
down
if people know that.
When it comes down to deluxe editions, I'm like, hey, whatever. If you want to, give people a little bit of extra something for a deluxe edition, it's whatever. Like it's something that I'm willing to accept.
What if it was a weapon with a unique sheathing animation, unlike anything in the game?
That would kind of suck if you could not get it in the game. It's like, because at the start, it wouldn't bother me, because I would instantly assume if I was to see like, oh, imagine the Lost Code weapons, right? If they were a part of a deluxe DLC, at the start it wouldn't bother me, because I would instantly assume there's going to be comparable weapons in the game. At the end of it, if there weren't, then I would probably it would annoy me. But one of the most slimy things that you can do as a deluxe thing, and this is like one of the worst things, and several companies do it nowadays, unfortunately. To me, the slimiest thing of the deluxe thing is the 3-day, 5-day head start.
What is that?
Oh, you've never heard of this?
No.
So imagine, for instance, you buy the deluxe version of Monster Hunter, you can start playing 3 days before everybody else.
What? Who does that?
Oh my God, so many people. You want to know somebody who does it and that you're playing their video game right now?
Who?
Final Fantasy 14. It's not a deluxe edition. Does that? It's not a deluxe edition thing. It's a pre-order thing. You can play 3 days early.
If you pre-order the game?
If you pre-order the expansion, you can play 3 days early. However, I will say...
Yeah, but you're not paying extra, right?
No, in that case, you're not paying extra. So I will say, you're not paying extra, you're just pre-ordering. And I understand why they do it, because it makes it so that the servers don't explode as easily because it segregates people into tiers. So in a way, it's almost like a technical.
Business.
Yeah, it's almost like a technical thing because it also helps out.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Yeah. So I mean, they're not charging more, but if they were to say deluxe,
but
pay $15 more and you can play 3 days later, that's slimy as shit.
Yeah, but like, see, that happens. So like, Microsoft has done this with Forza and with Gears. Ubisoft does this with like all of their games. Like, you can always pay for the deluxe edition, get it like 3 days early. And like them, I'm sure that there are more that I just can't remember them off the top of my head. But definitely a lot of people do this. Microsoft was doing this a ton of times. I don't know if they've changed it because now they have Game Pass. It's like everything comes day one with Game Pass. So I don't know if you can still do it. But I do remember there were several times where at least Forza and Gears, you were able to play them like 3 to 5 days early if you were to buy like a deluxe edition, which is...
that feels dirty.
That is like, if you're talking about DLC scumbaggery, it doesn't get much worse than the FOMO of telling you, oh, you get to play earlier. Ooh. And the best part about it is that I think that not only milks consumers through FOMO, but it guarantees milking content creators because, like, well, what am I going to do? Play the game 3 days late? You can't do that.
Yeah, that's just filthy. Okay.
Yeah,
well, thank God,
extremely filthy.
Capcom doesn't do that.
Yeah, but like, so it's like there's a lot of things that can happen when it comes to DLC. I just think that again, it is important to voice our discontent if you're not happy about the thing. And I think it kind of sucks that there are some people that do not want to have this discussion at all and they just want to like kind of dismiss it. And again, I understand if you're just like, oh, I just want to buy the cool looking weapon. Hey, whatever, you do you. I think that fundamentally you are contributing to the worsening of the game. This is not like, this is genuinely the way that I feel, and you can call me maybe a little bit extreme. But like the way that I look at it, and I'm going to give you an extreme example of something that is true. If you look, for instance, at Diablo Immortal. Now, Diablo Immortal is a terrible game by all metrics. And a lot of people are like, oh, have you played it? Yes, I played Diablo Immortal all the way. I tortured myself to play this game all the way to the end, despite the fact that I fucking hated it. And then you saw that?
Move. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was beautiful.
And then I deleted my character because that game is completely terrible and atrocious. So I have every right to critique it because I went through it and I know what it's all about. But when you're talking about a video game that is as bad as Diablo Immortal, it's like, I'm not against, hey, you want to play Diablo Immortal? Go at it, have fun. I don't care. The problem is there are people, and this is not an exaggeration, and this might shock you, there are people that have spent over $100,000 in that game.
Oh, yeah. I've read about that.
And microtransactions.
It's your typical mobile game free-to-play crap.
And so when you look at that, there's no way that you can convince me that someone spending $1,000 on that video game, there's not other companies looking at that and thinking like, oh, community didn't really say much about that, did they? They just like,
so
they just got a bag. That's nice.
I want to see if I can push a little bit on the wording that you're using, though. And I hope people don't get the wrong impression. I'm not trying to defend the DLC. I actually am. I have a sour taste in my mouth about this as well, actually.
That's an interesting thing because we've been talking about around it. We haven't actually got your actual opinion on it. So where do you land on it?
But hang on, but before I do that, I'm still picking your head on this one. But you said that if you want to buy like the layered armor, that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But you're saying that it's contributing to the worsening of the game. I would say that
wait.
It may be. We at this point, Capcom has not crossed the boundary. I would say where the game is getting worse because of monetization.
Wait. Here's the thing. You said if you buy the armor. No, I think. The
the weapon. The weapon. Sorry, you said you are contributing to the worsening of the game, but I think
I fundamentally agree
it's not written in stone that this is going to worsen the game experience. It's just it has signs of. We want to stop the momentum of everything flowing into DLC.
The way that I look at it is through my experience with like the Sparkle Pony with Blizzard and all of these other things, all of these other monetization scandals that I've lived through, which have been many. I talk about monetization all the time in video games when it comes to my secondary channel. So it's like I talk about this stuff all the time, and there are endless examples of how it works. So in my opinion, and you'll have a very hard time arguing me down from this. In my opinion, if you do buy the weapon, you are contributing to the worsening of the game because you can say what you want, but imagine, for instance, 10,000 people buy the weapon. Like, So 10,000 people buy this weapon. What is Capcom going to think? Oh man, poor Rurikon. He doesn't like the fact that we did this weapon. Or are they going to look, hey, 10,000 people bought this shit. It's like, hey, we should make another one. Like that is very basic maths. And the worst part is, we have to take into account that a majority of people that play video games, they don't necessarily consume content about video games. They're not even seeing any of this discussion that is happening online. What they're going to see is like, hey, that's a cool weapon. I like that. I'm going to buy it. And, so I do believe that if people, they look at this and they're like, hey, I just want to buy the weapon looks cool. It's like, hey, you do you. Just be aware. I do believe you are contributing to the worsening of the game. That's just the way that I see it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just the wording. It feels like what would you call it?
Extreme?
No. It feels like shaming someone who wants to buy it and likes it. Like
yes. I will. Hey, listen. I'm very direct. Like, look, I'm sorry if it offends you, but I've said multiple times, if I believe that somebody is doing something that is making a video game that I care about worse, I have no problems in shaming them, because I've taken the other approach to it for a long time. I was like, hey, your money, do whatever you want. And that got us to Diablo Immortal. So now my approach is different. I will shame you. I don't care.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, in Monster Hunter, there's warning signs and there's momentum in a direction we don't like.
Yes.
So if you go and you support those decisions by telling them with your wallet, yeah, this is something we want, do more of it, you could be contributing to something that could potentially become an issue that affects the game. But as it stands now, having that one mecha weapon being added to the game, it doesn't actually ruin the game experience yet. But this is a trend that we're worried is going to get momentum, and we would rather people not give it momentum. As I'm saying, this is still a preemptive opinion, is it not? Or is it? Yeah, or do you feel that the introduction of the weapon itself is going to damage the game?
I feel like the introduction of the weapon itself is going to damage the game due to the fundamental fact that I believe that thousands of people will buy the weapon. And let me tell you something, like, even if it's just like 1,000 people buying the weapon, that is going to send a bigger message than 10,000 people saying they don't want to buy it. Because 10,000 people saying they don't want to buy it means absolutely nothing. What, a little bit of Twitter outrage? Who cares? By tomorrow? Because like the internet has a very short-term memory when it comes to these things.
That is true, yes.
So it's like a couple of months from now.
Not to mention the people yelling, probably boss bought it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's like a couple of months from now, a majority of people are not even going to remember what the hell is the Lost Code weapons. What is he talking? When I bring it up in a video, I was like, "This was the moment." People are going to be like, "What the hell is he?" I don't even remember any of this.
But hey,
like that's what's going to happen.
But they remembered the third quarter sales bump, right? Is basically what you're saying.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Capcom's gonna be like, "Hey, man, look at the we should make another one of those. Let's make it in red. This is the blue version. Let's make it red and black. Next, let's make it blue and gold. It'll be great." Dude.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I may not agree with the wording, but I understand at least where you're coming from.
And again, I want you to understand, like this, I am a little bit extreme in this position, and I recognize it, but that is because of the experience that I've had.
Yeah, a lot of games that you play that you love have really gone to shit, right?
Yes, a lot of them have gone. Like, listen, you want to talk about something? For instance, I love the Diablo franchise. You want to know when Diablo 3 released? What it had? It had an in-game real money auction house where you could buy items. Okay. And the best part, people defended that. People were like, "Oh, this is amazing! I love it!" And I was like, "Bro,
I can make money.
You're literally buying items on a looter game. Like, what are we doing here?"
And you're giving them a cut. That was basically
and here's the thing.
Same business model as a.
And you want to know what happened? In order to funnel people, because this is another thing that people don't talk about as nearly as much, but in order to funnel people to the auction house, Blizzard nerfed the drop rate of good items by so much
scarcity
that
NFTs,
the game was damn near unplayable for a more casual player. If you were not like super hardcore grinding like a maniac, the game was nearly unplayable. Like, I was playing in a way where I basically would be grinding gold to go to the gold version of the auction house, because there were two versions. There was the real money and the gold version. Man. So I would be grinding gold to go into the gold auction house to buy upgrades, because there were no drops. There were just like no drops whatsoever. I was like, "Oh, this is great. I love this game." So yeah, there are extreme examples, which is why I'm extremely I'm very much extreme with my opinions on monetization.
Yeah, like I think I would get as barbed in my response if what they were introducing was something that would fundamentally affect their gameplay design.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if they sold Gil or something, right? Like, or not Gil, sorry, Zenny.
Zenny.
I knew I was going to mess up once. If they were to sell currency in game, that would be a direct. That would start to influence gameplay decisions if they started making money from it, and then they would try to, subconsciously even, like it would affect them. But I'm not sure if we're quite at that place yet in Monster Hunter. I guess I can see.
No, we're not. We're not
position like of someone who has been down that road with games that they love and is bitter about their franchises, getting ruined by this. I could see why you fiercely defend it. I guess I've just been lucky that I haven't
been
maybe into so many franchises that have suffered from it.
Yeah, and that's the point that I'm making. There's a lot of people that don't have the same experience as me, because I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying that this is what my experience compels me to do, because this is what I've seen in the past. And usually most of your decisions are going to come from past experiences. I have these past experiences with God knows how many video games. And every single time that we started down the road that we are heading in Monster Hunter, it never ends well. Okay, it just never ends well. Like World of Warcraft right now has a WoW token. You want to know what a WoW token is? You can literally buy in-game gold. Now, it took a long time for them to get there, but you can just you can buy in-game gold. That's the way that it works.
The game loop, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically nowadays there's basically a price on your time, because if you can, for instance, you've been doing Gil in Final Fantasy 14, tons of Gil. You've been optimizing and doing all this stuff. So you can kind of put a price on your time, but you can't buy it with real money. I mean, you can through third-party websites, whatnot, but you can't officially do it. If you were doing the same thing in World of Warcraft, you could literally put a price on your time, and that is terrible for a video game. But I don't think we're anywhere close to that point in Monster Hunter. I want to make that perfectly clear, because we're talking about extreme cases of monetization. I think that this is just a point at which, if you support this, I believe that you will see less and less cosmetic
in-game
DLC in the game. This I firmly believe. And you're not going to be able to convince me otherwise, because every single time I've seen this happen, the result has always been the same. Because, companies hey,
so far it has been, since they started with World and Iceborne, it has only been increasing.
Yeah, exactly.
And the stuff in game, at least I'll say the updates this time are great. I think they're definitely much better off than they were in Rise. The updates feel more compelling, and I think that's a great step in the right direction. But the momentum of they're putting a whole lot of emphasis on the DLC here.
Yep.
Is still exhilarating, and if you remember, I the first time I really voiced discontent was when they started selling the skins of the hunters. I'm not a hypocrite. I did spend money on them as well. But getting a character skin felt this could be a weird thing. And then I got really weirded out when they started selling skins for the two Sunbreak characters before we even had Sunbreak.
See, that actually doesn't
weird.
bother. That actually doesn't bother me at all. I'm that's fine. You want to look like a character in game? I don't care, because most of the armors that these characters wear, these are armors that you can kind of replicate in game. I think, except maybe Hinoi and Minoto, right? Or can you get their outfits through events? I don't remember.
You can get them with the Chimera tickets. I think the only thing is it's the voice, right?
Okay, then
can't get the voices.
Yeah, then I don't even mind any of that at all. It's hey, you want to sell an additional voice pack, that's fine. Because I always look at it as I want my character to sound a certain way. I don't want my character to sound like another NPC that's already in the game. I love Harlow. Yeah, I don't want to play as Arlo, right?
Yeah, my thing that felt weird was Iceborne had the handler, right? And I thought that was kind of neat that you could decorate an NPC, but that's not even something you see during a hunt.
I think I bought her the summer outfit. Yeah.
I bought her a lot of outfits. And the thing is, I was totally fine with that, because that's an NPC. That's decorating your house, right? That's just that's completely separated from the in-game loop.
Wait. That's like decorating your house? What?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not calling the handler my house.
She's a brick house. She's mighty, just letting it all hang out.
Hey, her goth outfit was great. I loved it. But but then it's like, okay, well, it's not part of the hunter. But then they started saying, okay, now we're going to sell hunter voices. I'm like, okay, now we're cosmetic DLCing our hunters. What's next? And now they're of course they're going to weapons, and you're right. It's just going. It's scary, right? You don't want to see them get out of control.
Yeah, and I want to.
It could take a sour turn.
I want to reinforce, because I know that I sound extremely negative. I'm negative about monetization. I don't think that the Monster Hunter team is anywhere close to selling you, like, as there was a video that was like memeing on this saying, hey, we're now going to sell Flaming Espionage, whatever, $40. I was like, I don't think we're anywhere close to that. But I'm also going to say that is not something that is completely outside the realm of possibility. Going down the line that we are going down. I still think it's like many years in the future, but it is definitely a possibility, because that's the way the monetization goes. It starts with cosmetics. Like, again, World of Warcraft is the perfect case study for this. Starts with cosmetics, ends with the WoW token, where now there's fundamentally no integrity to the in-game economy, because you at any point you can just I want gold, I'll just buy the token, boom, done, gold.
I don't know if maybe this is wishful thinking, because a publisher side normally wouldn't want this type of data, but it would be nice if Capcom entertained the idea of doing a user feedback survey specifically on monetization. Like, what are the type of DLC have you bought in DLC? What is the type of DLC you're comfortable with or you like? What's the standard price you think is appropriate for this? And just to try to find where the community in large feels that there's a boundary. Like, okay, don't cross this point, please, because that's sort of like the golden principle of the game. And then at least to give them that feedback officially in a numerative way to say, like, okay, there is a line in the sand, and we're getting closer to it. I don't know if we're quite at it. We might be, and I'm just optimistic. Or maybe we're almost there, and people like you are signing the warning signs. I'll go and give you guys my opinion, because I've been dancing around it. But
yes, you have.
I actually, not intentionally. I don't like it either. I feel that it's a scary trend. I hate the optics on how they've been doing Rise and Sunbreak, and how they tout and talk about the DLC with the same amount of priority as they do the other updates. I don't like the idea of having extra glamour functionality. However, I am curious, and this might be a nice segue, but if they start adding in special sheath and unsheath animations to the Apex monsters. Shit, I'll just call it Apex. The Arisen.
The Anomaly.
Monsters.
Oh, the Arisen monsters. Okay.
Like, that would be pretty dope. And so I'm curious if they made it so, let's say, like the Curious Chameleos weapon and all the Curious Elder Dragons all get special animations that probably even trump the one that they're selling. Would that make... It doesn't really change it then, because I think in your head it's more of a principled idea than it is a specific execution.
It's like, but see, there is influence in that happening. There is still a big problem in the fact that first, it came out as DLC, and then they put it in the game. That is still bad.
Timed
like
exclusive.
If you were,
is it in the game now?
No, it's going to be in the game tomorrow when the update goes live. Tomorrow, depending on when this video goes live.
is also coming tomorrow, right? So there's crossing my fingers. There's a chance they could redeem a little bit here, and they could say, no, there's even fancier things. We're just giving you a taste of what you can earn in game.
Hey, if that's the case, we'll see. But like, I still think it would have been better if that is what they're planning. Which I don't think that is what they're planning. I don't think that's going to happen. But if that is what they're planning, and I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, then what they should have done is like, okay, here's Title Update 2, and then a couple of weeks later, the way, here's a couple of layered weapons that you can get.
That's similar.
Because then you could be like, okay, I have a comparable thing that I can get from this monster. Then it makes it more okay. It's still a barrier that they're crossing, though. They're still moving into layered weapons, which is something they haven't done before. And it's still like there's not enough layered weapons in the game to justify this, right? So it's still bad, but I guess it's a little bit less bad, you know.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
We're on the scale of like, how bad is this on a scale of like 1 to 10? I don't know. I guess it was a 10, and now it's a 7. It's like still not good.
Yeah, the reason why I daydream that it would be nice if they did some exercises to find the line in the sand, because I don't think, like I said, I don't think DLC is going anywhere inside of games. I think, if anything, it'll become more normal, just because I do believe and know that the cost of games is gone way up. That being said, there are tasteful and untasteful ways to do it, but either way, you have to be careful to draw a line. And the producer for that game has to be, on the publisher side, has to be very adamant about, this is what we're okay with. We're not doing this. I'll quit my job if you try. Like, you know, like I think it was Yoshi P saying, like, we will not have NFTs in FF14 over my dead body, basically. There's no value in it. Like, it's bad for players. So when you get someone who says that, then they're fighting their shareholders and their executives, saying, no, don't touch this. You're going to ruin it. So it would be nice if they can find a way to find a line in the sand, because they're definitely drifting in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, slow down, guys. Why don't you bring back Event Quest, please? We really miss those, and the collaborations. Because really miss those.
This is something that a lot of companies sometimes also forget when it comes to this stuff. Is like, yeah, you can make a lot of money, but I'm not sure if it was with you that I've talked about goodwill. No, I think it was in my other podcast talked about the goodwill. But basically, the idea is every company has like a certain amount of goodwill from their players. Like, you do something good, you do something
There is
favorable.
a really funny term for that in marketing.
Yeah, but my thing is like, so you have a certain amount of goodwill for players, and the moment that you make something like, for instance, these weapons, you're basically making a withdrawal from that goodwill.
Yeah, yeah. So you're going right to the right terminology. It's called a franchise deposit or a franchise withdrawal.
Yeah.
So are you putting money in the bank, or are you taking some out? You know.
So that's what they're, in my opinion, with these weepons. That's what they're doing. They're doing a franchise withdrawal,
tarnishing the brand.
And it's like, you can argue that, oh, Rurikhan, you're 1,000% wrong, and it's like, if I'm wrong, why is there such a big discussion online? This was definitely a withdrawal from the franchise, as Gaijin is saying. This is a withdrawal of goodwill. And what happens is companies tend to only look at it and like, hey, did we make money? Yeah, sounds good. Players like it. It's like, no, you made money, but people didn't like it.
You spent some HP to do it, and you have to get that back up.
And so the problem is, then when the next title comes around, they start seeing less people buying the game, and they're like, wait, what happened? Why aren't more people not buying the game? And it's like, because you took some of that goodwill away, and now people are mad. Like, I have people in my comments in regards to that video that I made, where people are like, I'm going to wait and see on the next Monster Hunter. They're no longer buying it day one. There are plenty of people that are like, I am not going to buy the next one day one because I wasn't happy with what they did in Rise, and now they're pulling this stunt, and I don't like it. And again, I constantly tell people that, you know, I have my opinions. You shouldn't just like spout my opinions because they're my opinions. You should analyze my opinions. If you don't agree with me, feel free to disagree with me in the comment section. I'm happy to talk with people and whatnot and all of that. But it's like, you know, I try to basically make it so that I'm not just the influencer that everybody just blindly agrees with. I want people to disagree with me. This is a healthy thing.
Yes, which I've been doing a healthy amount today. We actually are on the same side of the aisle. I just think I'm more towards the front of the aisle, and you're like way in the back, like scarred and drinking whiskey, and I have a coffee, and I'm like sipping on it, like you know, like a little nervous.
You're like this. You're like, imagine like a war scenario, and you're like in the front. You're like, this doesn't look too good, and I'm like in the back. If you had seen what I have seen,
yeah, you have no idea.
I have the 1,000-yard stare of monetization. Anyway, let's talk about a little bit more positive things.
I was gonna say, well, one thing negative I'll get out of the way, and this is just something I thought was kind of funny. Was sometimes I do think that people make the wrong comparisons. Like, it's hard to compare games to games because it's never apples to apples, right? It's always apples to oranges in every case. Like, games don't exist in a vacuum. They're all unique. They have different context and models and stuff like that. So I do find it kind of overblown when people are like, "Oh my god, next thing they're gonna do is battle passes. It's coming." I'm like, that's a business model for a completely different type of game, and that's for a free to play model. Like, are there actual paid games that do battle passes on top of it?
Oh, Gaijin, you sweet summer child!
What?
Yeah, yes, there are tons of them.
What?
Yes,
really?
Paid video games that do battle passes.
Not subscription based, but like actual, like you buy the game and then they add in battle passes.
Yes.
Really?
As a matter of fact, Diablo 4 is going to have a battle pass, and it's not even going to have like one track. It's going to have 3 tracks. It's going to have 1 free track and 2 premium tracks.
I mean, that's the standard here in Japan for
free to
like
play
monthly battle pass models. It has to be free to play. This is like the golden standard here, because you're saying, okay, if you don't want to, if you're against buying gachas or specific ones, then we'll tell you what you get, and you are going to pay for it in money and also retention, because you're going to have to play to earn those. So they do that, and they do the freemium, then they do like the silver and then the platinum course. So they see how far they can get you, you know? Because if you've completed the silver course, all you have to do is hit the buy button and you get everything on the platinum course because the objectives were the same.
Nowadays,
but that's a free to play model thing, and not people here use it.
That is becoming the standard of the industry. Whenever they have a video game in which they want a little bit of retention, that is very much becoming the standard. They'll just straight up put a battle pass into a game that you pay, like a AAA game that you pay a fee for. Boom, they'll put a battle pass in there, not even think twice.
No thanks. I mean, as an adult, I would say I hate the idea. Oh, I don't think it'll come to Monster Hunter. I hope to God I'm wrong. Because like life is fragmented, right? People are busy. People get sick. People have work. People have stuff. And I was against the idea of having those timed events in World and Iceborne. I thought that was bad. And I'm happy that it's not like that in Sunrise. Just because people don't always have the time. Oh, why do I have to play it this week? Why does it have to be right now or I can't get it? Like, I don't. There's something about that I just don't like. I get why they do it in free-to-play games, because they're not charging you money for it.
Here's the thing. You can say that, and I agree with that. It's much more convenient to just have the event, be able to do it whenever you want. But you cannot deny that there are positives and negatives to doing it that way. So the negative is, like you said, the pressure. The positive is the community gets together to do these events. Like when Kul Tiroth came around in Iceborne, or even just like when it came around in World, people were doing it. Like the whole community came together to do Kul Tiroth. Same thing for Safi Jiva. You know, same thing for all of these siege events that we had. People would come together to do the siege event. And it's like, you know, there's good aspects and bad aspects to it. It's the kind of like the same thing in Final Fantasy XIV, right? You want to do the summer event, you have to do it while the event is there. Otherwise, you can go later to the store and buy it. But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, but anyway, I just thought that the battle pass is kind of like, I think we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I think I think the next step that I'm worried about, and I hope they don't ever do, and if they do, I'll have to be vocal as well, which is any type of monetization that will start to influence game design. I think that's a bad move, and I don't want to see them do it.
Anything that affects gameplay, you mean, right?
Game design.
What do you mean by game
specifically? So, I mean, gameplay, obviously, like, if there's, like, a weapon with stats, that affects gameplay.
Yeah, exactly.
But when I say game design, it's like, how many times, how much effort do I put in to get a certain item? What's the loop? How long does the loop last for? Like, because the moment you start having things that are like, well, we want people to feel that it's more convenient, then they'll start naturally having to make it inconvenient to get in the game, and that affects the design of the systems. Like, for example, maybe your Kahoot doesn't give you eggs after every quest. Maybe the charms are only once after every 5 quests. But hey, if you're on the golden pass or whatever, like, you after every quest you can pull, they're done. You could just pay and say open now, and it becomes a monetization. You know what I mean?
You're talking about pay for convenience.
Yeah, so that's
another thing I talk about a lot. Cause you want to know why?
Yeah, because that affects gameplay design.
Let me tell you something. Pay for convenience is just something that people tell themselves so that they don't have to label it as pay to win, because it's exactly what it is. Okay? Yeah. Because every time that a developer sells you convenience, they're what is it? The word? They're incentivized to inconvenience you because the more I
exactly,
inconvenience
otherwise
you,
there's no cost.
the
value
more
to it.
the more there's a chance if you like buying stuff from me. And I get a lot of people always telling me like, oh, this game is not pay to win, it's pay for convenience. And I'm like, okay, dude, whatever, bro. You can call it whatever the hell you want. It's like you say potato, I say potato. Game is pay to win.
The thing is,
it is what it is.
Yeah, because it actively will change the way that they design the game systems in a way that other people are at a disadvantage, and that is
imagine for instance, this is something that I could actually eventually see happening due to the fact as to how they've done monetization so far. I hope they don't do it. Yeah. I hope they don't do it, but if they do it, I will guarantee you I will slam them, and I'm not even sure if I will be respectful about it because this is definitely like crossing a line in the sand where I'm going to be really upset.
Take notes, Capcom. This is no-go zone.
Something very easy to do would be to, like, you know, the same way that you have tickets for Dango, right?
Yeah.
Imagine they sell you a ticket, and that ticket grants you great luck buff in a quest.
Oh, hell no. See, that would affect gameplay design.
I see that as a possibility.
Pay to win.
No, what I'm saying, I see that as a possibility for the future of Monster Hunter.
God.
I don't know. I hope not. But you know, the way that I'm seeing the monetization going, I'm beginning to see that could potentially, because like that straddles a line.
Because that's the premium meal ticket. And hey,
here's the
one
interesting
person buys it, everyone else gets the benefit.
Right?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Like, I guarantee you, if we were to ask everybody who's listened up until this point, go into the comment section and tell me if you would or would not be bothered about a good luck ticket that you could buy. Like, imagine you can buy, I don't know, 10 of them for 50 cents. You can buy 10 of them for 50 cents. Tell me if you're against that. Because I guarantee you there will be people in the comment section that'll be like, you know what, I'd be fine with that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I can get the orb on the first drop. It doesn't matter. It's just time.
Yeah, because the thing is, nowadays, a lot of people will go to this and they'll think about it. Well, you know, I'm busy. I'm a father of 2 kids. You know, maybe I'll just buy this ticket. I'll be able to get my stuff faster. Like, it'll be great, you know? And
affects nobody.
What people
I still need to kill the monster, right?
Yeah. What people don't understand is like the more you succumb to that, you are basically paying to skip the loop of the game, and that is a problem because developers are more and more incentivized to put more and more hurdles in your way. Because you start with that.
Can I change my mind? I said Capcom take notes. I don't want them to listen to this. Don't take notes. Get the hell out of here.
But it's like, listen.
Selective amnesia, please. Don't ever do this.
Listen to me, because here's how a lot of the times this is me from the experience that I've seen other developers do in other video games, and this is me like adapting it to Monster Hunter. Like, imagine I'm evil villain guy, twirling mustache,
do you have any other crazy idea of something evil that could happen? Because that's pretty damn evil.
No, because like, listen, I'm gonna build on top of this idea, right? Because first I sell you. So I'm the guy doing all of this marketing. I'm the evil guy. So first I sell you this ticket, and there's gonna be a little bit of pushback, but there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna buy the ticket. So it's gonna make it very easy for me to influence everybody else in the team. They're like, hey, see, this was a good thing. We made a lot of money. So now the next thing that I do, and I don't even need to tell anyone because Capcom is not forced to reveal the drop rates of anything in the video game. See, now I reduce the drop rates on mantles, and so people that buy the tickets, I'll keep the rate the same. People that don't buy the tickets, they get reduced rates on mantles because that is going to cause friction in the game. See, this is very easy. Like, just in these 2 steps,
I've created friction. You're going to have like this recruiter email that's going to come tomorrow?
No, but I'm just saying, like, in these 2 examples, and again, this is not what Capcom is doing. Do not quote me out of context. This is just me giving you very bad examples.
You're giving examples of previous wars you've seen. Like,
exactly.
This shit can go
but
down.
It's like, just imagine it like this, because again, it instantly boils down to what I said. The moment I sell you convenienced, I am motivated to inconvenience you further to get you to buy this convenience. I am creating the demand for the product that I am selling to you, except I control all of the knobs in the game. I have full control. You already lost. You haven't even started playing and you've already lost. And it's very easy. Again, these are very small little tweaks.
Yeah, because people will like to say, and I agree, like when it comes to cosmetic stuff, it doesn't affect me. housing items doesn't affect me. They're right, but there are ways of doing monetization that does affect them, and people are not aware, and I would.
And again, this is like
well.
again super. But the thing is, who is even going to say anything, because the majority of players aren't even going to know. I'm just going to reduce the rates, and I'm not going to tell you. The rates are lower now. I've changed the deal.
We'll bitch our heads off if we see anything like that.
Yeah, but you'd have to
let's
data
go to something
mine it.
positive. But I mean,
yeah.
In the end, I'm with you. I think everyone's got a valid opinion. Some people come in a little bit more optimistic, some more pessimistic, some hyperbolic. But I think Capcom should take note that people are talking about this stuff, and there's obviously concerns in the community of them expanding the range of what items they monetize and how they do it. And please just be careful not to cross that line, and consider doing something to get user feedback, whether it's a community manager gathering people's feedback, which, like you said, having videos saying, F this, F that, the moment they do this, I'm out.
Yeah.
It's not as, you have to tell them the why, and I think that's a big thing that Yuri and Sox also said, is you can't just say what you don't like. You have to say why, because that helps them to bring it back to the team and say, look, people don't like because this is the perception they're going to get. And they don't want that. And just saying, they don't like it. It's like...
Which is, again, this is a feedback that I instantly provided. I don't know if it was same day or the next day, to Jono, the current community manager. Like, hey, here's my thoughts on this whole thing. I just want to point it out there. I also told him I'm going to be making videos on this. It's like, look, full respect
right
for
after
the
the
team.
Summer show. Hey, bro, you got you got a minute?
It's like,
we got to talk.
It's like, at the end of the day, it's important to mention, like, I have full respect for the Monster Hunter team. I don't think we're anywhere close to the dark, grim reality that I'm currently painting. I don't think that is happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
But
not
I
out
do
of the realm
see
of
it.
impossibility.
I don't think it is completely impossible to happen if we keep going down the path of monetization. This is the natural progression of things. It starts with cosmetics, and once you've acclimated people to, it's the boiling frog. Once you've acclimated people to a certain amount of things, you start putting more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And people just, like, they slowly accept it. They're like, oh yes, this is fine. This is fine. And so that's just the point. I don't want to see Monster Hunter get to that. So that's why I talk the way that I do about it. So, more positive things. Title Update 1. You've barely even touched it. So I'm going to tell you all of what? You've barely touched Title Update. Of course, Title Update 2, it builds on top of Title Update 1.
What was Title Update 1? I have to
Title
ask.
Update 1. Number 1. Anomaly investigations.
I've done those.
These are awesome. I love them. They're amazing. This is like one of the best additions to the game as far as I'm concerned. I've been grinding that anomaly like a complete maniac. I've actually had to take breaks because I was starting to burn out due to the amount of time that I was spending grinding.
Oh, you're talking about the leveling up quests.
Yes, you have
the
to
guild
level
quests. I have not done that.
Yeah, so it's like you level them up and the monsters become harder. They get more HP, they deal more damage, they become more dangerous, and I'm like, this is exactly what I want. So I've been leveling that up to try and get to Anomaly Rank 100, which I have gotten, and then I realized, oh crap, I've gotten to Anomaly Rank 100, but I only have Anomaly 3 monsters at level 100. So now I need to level up Anomaly 5 monsters all the way up to 100.
Do they start at level 1, or where do they start?
What?
Do they start at level 1, or is there a point in which progression it starts out at a higher level?
Depends on your on the anomaly, because so each monster has an anomaly level. So you have Anomaly 1, Anomaly 2, Anomaly 3. This was before the investigations were even.
Yeah.
Each of those has like a different starting point. So basically, if you do one of those anomaly quests, you're gonna get them at different levels. So if you do Anomaly 1,
and is it 1 level per 1 kill?
1 or 2. And it also caps out at your own anomaly research level. That's why it's important for you to reach to 100. So like, say for instance, your anomaly rank 95, but you're at the very start of anomaly rank 95. So you kill a 95 monster, your gauge raises, the monster's level is not going to raise because your cap is level 95.
How many anomalies does it take to gain a level for you to get permission to take on the next level?
It depends on so many things. So it's like number of monsters in the hunt, anomaly level of the monster in the hunt, time modifiers, because hunts can have negative time modifiers, feint modifiers. So the way that I leveled up was I found this quest, which was Puke Puke, 1 feint, and I think 25 minutes or something like that. I think whatever the minutes were, it was like the least amount of time you could have on any single hunt. And it was 1 feint, which is the least amount of feints you can have on any single hunt. And Puke Puke, despite being a terribly easy monster, is anomaly level 3 for some strange reason. So, nice. So you combine those things, you have a super easy hunt that would give me pretty much half a level all the way up until 96, I think. And then after
that doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, and then after that, it was like 3 kills per level, which was fine.
Yeah. How long does it take you to kill that thing solo?
It was about between 10 to 13 minutes with a gun lance, so better weapons will perform better.
Is that across all levels, or was there a point where it's like, oh god, this is taking 20, 30, I need to do this multiplayer?
No, it started slowing down, so probably at the start I was killing it in like, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 minutes or something like that, and then as I started going up like all the way up to 100, I think the longest one was like 13 minutes. And this is with me grabbing birds. So I'll grab birds so that it's a really comfy hunt.
So like if I was to a wild guess, assuming that I play at an average level, let's say I really like Almudron. So let's say I wanted to get Almudron, or let's say Almudron, whatever, it doesn't matter. I want to get him up, 50 levels. How long will that take me generally? Do you think? Is that like a day's or a weekend's work or a whole week worth of work? Because I just remember the guild quest system taking a very long time. So if you didn't go online, you were kind of screwed because it didn't scale back then. And if you wanted to grind from 1 to 100, you're talking like a good 20 hours for one monster. And you'd have to do that for every, I guess for this one, you'd have to do it for every type of drop that you can get,
so
right?
It's hard to calculate because I think at
lower is this levels, a deviant grind thing? That's what I'm curious about. Like, is this like grinding out deviant armor?
Yeah,
or is this a little bit more fun and you could do it?
I think it would be comparable to grinding deviant armor. Yeah, for one person.
Okay.
So like if you have 4 people
maybe 8
working,
to 10 hours.
I don't know. It might be something like that. Like what I can tell you is that the last ones for me was a long time. So like the last 5 levels would have been about anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes per level times 5. So that's calculate that.
110. So 110 is quite far away. If I wanted to grind that out in the weekend, that ain't happening.
No, see that's you're confusing it. You're confusing anomaly research rank with master rank.
Yeah, master rank's not so bad, right?
No, I don't think master rank's that bad. I think master rank is a lot easier to grind.
Okay, I think I'll just have to get my hands on it, but it looks cool, and I love the visual changes that the monsters go through, and I like the idea that you're going up against a monster, and you're getting really good at it, right? You're mastering it, but at the same time, it's raising the stakes so that if you slip up, it hurts that much more. So it just becomes more and more of a cage match. You're getting better, but they're getting stronger. So it's a nice feedback, right? You're able to smack them then.
And you start having more interesting things happen. So like, for instance, because of the fact that they get way more HP, the thresholds change. So imagine, for instance, picking up a spider, the mounting spider. So that gives you like a certain amount of mounting damage or whatever, right? It's not actual damage, but it just gives you...
It's not a full mount?
It won't give you a full mount near the higher levels. I don't know if that is intended, but that's what happens. It straight up does not give you a full mount on the higher levels. And there's more. There's like other things that happen that like because they have so much HP, things just behave a little bit differently. And there are certain triggers that don't happen the way that you expect. And it's always fun to see.
So one thing I want to ask, and I should know this, but I just don't because I'm not playing currently, and I hope to God that they add it. But like, I really love the hyper system from Generations Ultimate, right? So like, you're going up against harder monsters, or even Apex or whatever, but there was a chance to use that to get alternative armor. It can, like, if I was to grind Gore Magala, an anomaly quest, and I'll get his special
Gore
drop.
Magala is not available yet. That's coming with Title Update 2.
When he is available, then let's say, and let's say he gives me like a Curious Wing or something, right? is that only used to get random skills on my weapons and armor?
Yep.
Or is that, can I make like a augmented Gormagala set?
No. It's just rolls of curious armor crafting, which we can talk about that now if you want. It's like, look, Anomaly Hunts, in my opinion, is just fantastic system. I've been grinding it not stop, and I've been having a blast. Although, like I said, I do have to take breaks every now and then because, you know, when the most efficient way of me leveling up is basically butchering a Puke non-stop, like, I start feeling sorry for the poor creature. Like, he doesn't even last that long anymore. Poor guy is just, like, sitting there waiting to be butchered. But, so you get a bunch of materials from doing the anomaly stuff, and the higher you climb, eventually when you get to, like, anomaly research rank 81, that's when you unlock the anomaly 5 monsters. You just unlock all of them. So all of those, if you were to fight, say, a Rathalos from a regular anomaly quest, not an investigation, it would generate like a level 80-something anomaly Rathalos quest that you can then level up to 100 if that's what you want, right? But each of these have different materials and stuff, and then you grab these materials, take them over to the smithy, and then you can do stuff. So before we get into curious armor crafting, let's talk about the better version of it, which is curious weapon crafting, because armor crafting and weapon crafting extremely different. So the weapon crafting works very similar to the way that you had augments in World and Iceborne. So certain materials unlock the amount of augments you can place on the weapon, and then the other materials will place the slots in there. So for instance, attack 1 will be like 2 or 3 slots. I forget exactly how much it is.
Is it the same deal that, like, if you buy an attack 2 slot, can you unequip it and put it on another weapon?
No.
Or is it it's a permanent meld?
It's a permanent. I mean, here's the thing. You unlock it for that weapon, so you can reslot it with different things on that weapon, but you can't slot it to a different weapon, which kind of sucks, because I really prefer the way they did with Rampage decorations. It is much better. This just makes you grind more, which, you know, eventually this entire system, the one big negative aspect that it has, in my opinion, is the fact that I haven't played any other weapon besides Gunlance when this came out.
Yeah, it just shoehorns you into specific monster fights and specific weapons.
It basically, it all depends on how lucky you are, because it is very, I mean, in terms of the weapon, it's very deterministic. Like, you choose, I want this, boom, I put it there. So in terms of weapon, that'd be fine. I would be able to, if it was just like the weapons, I would still be playing other weapons. Because I'm like, I like this weapon, I'll unlock it here. I like this weapon, I'll unlock it here, because it's guaranteed. You can just choose, I want this thing on this weapon, boom, 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 done. However, when you get into the armor is literally ching, slot machine. Let's go. Let's see if I get the lucky number 7. Let's go, baby. Cha-ching, cha-ching. And that's all it is. And this is one of the reasons.
Is it like higher rarity gives you like a different skill pool or something?
So the way that it works is like there's a budget for skills and armor. And fundamentally, lower level armor has a chance to get better skills. This is one of the positive aspects of the system, because it makes lower level armor more viable. So for instance, the Renoplos gauntlets, that's like a key piece of my armor, because it's got like load shell, artillery, all of that. So I go in there and I roll like +1 artillery, boom. Fantastic friggin' piece. Like, it's got all the artillery I need or something like that. You can also roll load shells on it. But, you know, you gotta be...
Sky's the limit then.
Yeah, you gotta be extremely lucky. As a matter of fact, I believe that with the budget available, and this is the problem, right? With the budget available for Renoplos gauntlets, I think it's actually possible to roll both artillery and load shells.
Damn.
So it's like...
Your defense will suffer, but it's a good trade-off.
No, the defense doesn't even have to suffer. If you roll right enough, you might even get more defense. It's wild. So it's like, that's the fundamentally the good and simultaneously the terrible aspect of it, because it's a never-ending grind. You may get this on your first roll, you may never get it, which has been my case. I've never gotten like a really good roll on most pieces of armor. I'll just settle for something that I'm like, that's good enough. Like, I'll get protective polish on the random piece. I'm like, well, that's good enough. You know, now I have protective polish on here. I'll get like
but if you buy the new DLC, the premium curious melding, you can get 90% chance.
No, let's not go back to that.
No,
dark
let's
place.
not.
But
No way. Okay, that's good. I mean, that gives people wanted a grindy end game and lots of stuff. The hunt never ends. That's exactly what it sounds like it is.
Yeah, that's.
I just want to know if there's any risk of it doing what Guild Quest 140 was, which was only Rajangs over and over and over.
No,
Rajangs and Shagaru. That's
not
it.
Really, because you.
But
can
it doesn't
just,
sound like that's the case, right?
No, it's all about because basically you get these different essences. So the higher you go, the better the essence is, regardless of the monster that you're fighting.
Yeah.
So the best essence gives you like 40 points for this melding thing. The second best gives you 20, and the worst gives you like 10. So if you're doing low level stuff, you choose whatever monster you want, and you can go at it, have fun, and you'll get the essences. It's just sometimes for the curious weapons, sometimes you'll need specific materials, and in that case, you might need to go specifically after a monster to get like a special,
Is that a special curious part, or is it just a normal material?
It's a special curious part, so it'll be like.
Well, that's good, because that's kind of what I wanted. Was like, if you can meld your armor with skills that are or augment it with using curious materials.
No, but see, that's what I'm saying. It's just for the weapons. It's just for the weapons. So for the armor, there's nothing like the armor is just the essence thing, and you're just rolling the dice every time, which is actually one of
the weapons are good.
One of the reasons why when I do stream, I usually avoid doing curious armor unless I'm at the end of the stream, because curious armor crafting actively makes me not want to play the game.
Yeah.
Because like the moment I roll like a bunch of materials that I just got from doing like 20, 30 hunts or something like that.
Just disappear.
And I just make all that disappear and get literally nothing from it. I'm just like, okay, bro, this is look, the gambling thing does not work with me at all.
Yeah.
As it
do you
turns
think they
out.
needed to make it that grindy, or do you think they could have just gotten away with buy the skill you want to unlock? Better skills cost more.
I think there should have been a degree of RNG to it for sure. Because clearly that is what a lot of people want. Like a lot of people want complete RNG on it, which I find a little bit weird.
Do you mean like the first level of like charm decorations? You're like, I want a razor sharp one. And you get 80% chance to hit it.
I'm confused. What?
Like when you went to go to and you make charms. The first tier is like, okay, you choose a skill and you get like a 30% or 40% chance of getting decoration with it?
No. What a lot of people want is just full on randomness. They just wanted they want exactly what the system provides. I was surprised, but there's a lot of people that this is exactly what they want. And I was like, hey, fair enough. But for me, the way that I would do it is like, imagine, for instance, you look at Rathalos armor. Rathalos armor has attack boost. It has... I don't know if it has earplugs, but let's say two things that it has for sure is attack boost and wind resist, right? So say, for instance, I want to influence my chances of getting attack boost to wind resist. I could feed it Rathalos scales at the same time as I'm doing the things. Like, imagine they just give you an additional thing. It's like, hey, slot in something to influence the results of this. And that would... It doesn't necessarily have to guarantee the attack up, but it has to give me like a chance, like a 20%, 30% chance of potentially getting something that I want.
Is it like that, or is that how you said it should be?
This is what I would like it to be. It's nothing. It's not like,
that sounds really nice.
Yeah, that would be amazing, right? Like you just listen. I get to influence the skills that I want, because what ends up happening, it's like I'm shooting for a lot of skills, and sometimes I might get something that a lot of people think valuable. Like for instance, I've seen a lot of chain crits on my gear. I'm like, I don't need chain crits. I don't want chain crits. They're worthless. Like, what do I want this for?
Meanwhile, some guy just spent 20 hours grinding and wasted all of it trying to get a chain crit, didn't get nothing.
Yeah, he might have gotten like an artillery, a load shell, an evade extender, a guard up, a guard, all things that I would have loved to get, and I don't. It's like, see, that's where I have a problem with that particular system. So what do you think about, so let's start with curious weapons. Where do you stand on that? The weapon system.
I guess I have to see it. So the armor is pure randomness.
Yeah, the weapon system
the other
is
one
completely deterministic.
is like the augment system from Iceborne, right?
Yeah, it's completely deterministic.
I mean, I like that. I mean, you have to do harder hunts. You can customize your weapon to fit your playstyle or whatever. That sounds great.
So what about the curious armor?
I wish it was like you said. Like you can roll for a specific, because if it's pure random, then obviously people will just save scum it, and That's gambling. I mean, you're just rolling the dice, save, scum, reverse, and the people who can't do that or don't know how to do that or don't want to mess with it, they're at a disadvantage.
Yeah, see, because that's the point that I've made on several streams where people are like, "Oh, you just have to just save scum it. It's fine." And I'm like,
that shows a huge issue in the systems.
I kind of feel like if a system basically makes you want to save scum, there's a problem. System. Like, that's a bad system. Yeah. Like, if you feel the need to save scum, that means that the development team failed at some point. That's the way that I
screwed up. I agree. Yeah, so I mean, I just curious to what degree the game is scaling with the assumption that you're getting good skills on your armor. Like, does it start to get impossible, like one-hit kills if you're not rolling for specific defense up skills? Or
it's one of those things that, and this is where a lot of the people in the community are going to disagree with me, but to me, it depends on the weapon that you are playing. So, like, if you're playing sword and shield, you're fine. Because, like, you can get whatever skills you want on sword and shield, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
If
you don't have dependencies.
If you're playing Gunlance and you want to play Gunlance at a high level, you're fundamentally fucked. Because right now, you need to use 3 pieces of Lucent Nargacuga because of sneak attack, because that scales your shells by 20%. So it's like, that's not even a choice in most situations. Yeah. It's like, this is one of the few things that scales shelling. So, dude, I love the fact that skill is in the game because shells can actually compete a little bit this time around. So it's like, hey,
but you can do random rolls on that armor and try to get it with other skills, right?
Yeah, you can try to get other skills on that armor.
It's not going to lose its attack, will it?
See, that's the thing. It can lose. As a matter of fact, there are some rolls that you will do, which is literally like, here's your armor. And here's what this roll gave you. And it can be like -10 defense, -5 fire defense, minus something else, and then minus your sneak attack. And you're like, bro, what is this roll? What is this roll from hell? It's like,
you do get to choose to take it or not, right?
Yeah, you can choose. Okay, I don't want that. Thank you.
God, if they want to be evil, they auto-save it. When you roll, that would be evil.
They autosave it after you make your choice, though. So I think they've
you can
made
still
it harder.
Roll it back, though.
They've made it harder for you to save scum, but you can still just manually save your file or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, you can make it happen basically.
Yeah, that sounds kind of monotonous. I'd probably just engage with it at a minimum level. Just get some random ass skill on 1 or 2 pieces that I think is okay, and if that's enough, then I'm happy. Like, whatever.
Yeah, but see, that's
if it's not,
I'm always shooting for that extra 1%. So this system is the perfect thing to make me incredibly frustrating because you're looking at it. No, dude, it's the truth. Like, I've always min-maxed. It's like, I'm not even, in terms of min-maxing, it's not even about, I want to min-max to achieve maximum output.
It's more fun, right?
It's more like, I want to have these skills because I like these skills. It's not necessarily because they're the best skills. It's just the skills that I want.
It's a fun way to play.
And then I'm looking at like the Renoplos gloves, and I'm pretty sure, again, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that you can get artillery and load shells on there, and that'll basically be a piece of gear that'll give you 3 artillery and 2 load shells and 2 tier 2 slots or something like that. Damn. So it's like the fact that is, I think, achievable in game, and I can't get it because I'm not willing to like game the system. It just feels terrible. I'm like, bro, this sucks.
Hey, I got a quick fix. Why don't they make it so you can trade armor with people?
Whoa.
Nope. No, that's bad because it would destroy the whole.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. No, that was a stupid idea. Can you ignore that I said that?
New player in the game. No. Here, I'll just make you a full set real quick.
No. Let's not do that. That was stupid. Ignore
was that you want the weapon from the last boss? No problem. Your master rank 1 sounds good.
No.
Yeah,
sorry, take it out. Take it back. Okay, I can see why it can be a little annoying, but I mean, it sounds like they've added in enough grindiness. As long as the monsters are fun as you grind them up and they get harder and fun, then I think that's fair game.
It's like overall, it's been a very.
I'm curious. I want to see what's going on with the new class of monsters, the Arisen.
The Arisen, yeah. It's not Arisen. It's just Risen.
I hate
you're just focused on Dragon's Dogma.
Exactly.
Yes, Arisen.
Risen. I mean, I don't know. When I hear Risen, I think of like the dead.
Yeah. I mean, it's
maybe
mostly
maybe they did die and they got Rose from it. I don't know.
No, because the whole thing is like they've achieved
badass.
symbiosis. It's like Malzeno is technically speaking a risen monster.
So it's Apex.
It's not Apex.
Overcome the frenzy virus, and now they're using it to their advantage.
Yeah, it is that. So if you think about it,
Apex from For You, not Apex from Rise.
So if you think about it, Malzeno is a risen monster. Because he's a monster who became symbiotic with the Kurio. He was the first one to do it.
He's like the intro monster of them. He's the pussy. But he's cool. I want to see an arisen Malzeno. I like him a lot. Malzeno is one of my favorite hunts.
I want an arisen...
Insect Glaive, baby. You have to do it again. It's so fun.
Basilgoose, dude.
It feels like two bats or something fighting in the air. It is so fun.
If I need to fight in the air, I can just go there with my gun lance. It's fine.
Yeah, but you can't stay in the air for 20 seconds fighting it. It's fun when you do that.
I can stay in the air long enough. Don't worry about that. You don't know about my endurance, my aerial performance.
That sound effect of his warp is just like ASMR to me. I love the sound.
It's Morbin time.
Vroom. That bass. Vroom.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It is
so
really good.
Also, and I love Narset Kuga. I want to go back and fight him more. I really enjoyed that fight.
Also, we should mention that you started playing on PC. Is that something that you're going to go forward with, or what's the deal?
I don't know. I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do.
Listen,
because
guys,
I'm only on MR1 on PC, but I can't.
We need to put together a boosting crew. Boost Gaijin through.
Yeah, because it's just like I don't.
PC?
I'm not shitting on Switch. Like the Switch version plays very well, and it's very enjoyable. But the thing is I'm just one of those people who are sensitive. Not sensitive. I hate the word sensitive because I enjoy 30 FPS games, especially Monster Hunter, which has in general very good frame pacing. I like it a lot, and it feels good. But the thing is, it feels good when your eyes are adjusted to playing at that rate. And so when I go to 60, it's like, ooh, nice and smooth. But when I go back to 30, it looks like a flip.
And the problem,
like stop animation, it feels like it's just dropping frames everywhere, but it's not. It's just like, oh, it takes an hour for me to get used to it.
Is that you're playing Final Fantasy XIV on PC, which is running silky, probably more than 60. You're probably running at like 140.
No.
No, you're probably
I got
60?
it. I'm doing 4K 60.
Okay, so you got to run in smooth 60, and then you swap and you go to the Switch and you're playing at 30, and that is pretty jarring.
Smooth 30, but it is jarring as hell. It takes about 2 to 3 hunts, and then I'm like, oh man, this feels good. But the first time I look at it, it looks like I'm warping. It looks like I'm lagging or something. It's so jarring to me that I can't swap between the two.
The one monster that I've noticed when I played on Switch was definitely Gore Magala. Bro, Gore Magala on Switch. Jesus Christ.
But that's the monster that I would want to grind more than probably anybody in the game. That Diablos, because I love Diablos. So.
Yeah, well, for that, you definitely PC is looking.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll think about it as I play Final Fantasy XIV for my eventual return. How will I do it? But I think PC will probably be what I do because I think Yuna's done with Sunbreak. She's too hooked on 14, and she's did what she wanted to do, and we're both kind of feeling the pain in the butt of going back to Switch for stuff. The games are great. I would love if Nintendo could just put out a stronger version. I would be so happy.
That would be good indeed. But anyway, that's pretty much all we had to talk about in this episode, guys. So leave us all of your feedback. This is not like, don't expect the new Third Fleet podcast every week.
Yeah, next week or anything.
We're not there yet, but whenever Gaijin finds some time and he wants to talk about stuff, like I said, always here, ready to talk about stuff.
Yeah, thanks for getting together today and giving me your opinions. Again, you've been through minefields that I have not been through.
Yes.
So. You've experienced monetization hardcore in games in the West. I've experienced it in mobile games here in Japan. And while they share some similarities, they are fundamentally different. So it's terrifying.
But anyway, guys, let us know what you guys think about this, the monetization stuff. And like I said, do take the stuff that I talk about. Like, I am a bit of an extremist when it comes to monetization, and it's fine if you don't want to agree with me. But do remember that throughout all of this conversation, I was respectful, even if I do believe that if you are spending a bunch of money on microtransactions, I believe you are making video games worse. That doesn't mean I wish you harm. I just wish you'd stop doing that. But that's a different discussion.
Some people complain. Some people complain with passion.
Yes, exactly. That's me. So that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification icon, all of that jazz. Links to Gaijin stuff, which there's nothing there in Gaijin stuff right now. So but the links will still be in the description, though.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you all very much. We'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong. Stay safe.
And try Final Fantasy 14 if you ever need a break.
Indoctrination.